This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Ampire. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday, everybody. Callow, you were gone the last few days. There was a surge in demand for the Hey Babies koozies, by the way. I don't think you knew about what was going on for the last week with that.
Yeah, I don't know. You texted me about that, and I was like, what set that off? Because that's a new one, or at least a rehash from a couple years ago.
The good news is people are finding the podcast, so the audience has grown. And so when I did the live stream with Kime the other day, I got the every once in a while we get the why do you do that at the beginning of a show, and I got that. And I showed on the live stream, like, we actually have koozies with this. And I got a lot of texts and DMs and emails and all that stuff about, like, can I get one of those? So I said, because I'm nice, yes. And I thought we had like 800 of them, but apparently we don't, right?
No, they actually, because we ordered those, 2 seasons ago, I think?
Yeah.
They were actually like one of the hotter items at our table. So we don't have so here's what I think I answered you, and I'll say it here. I don't mind saying it. I have a good amount, nothing crazy. The station does not. I'm in possession of the last ones, is what I'm telling you.
Okay. So like I said to you yesterday, I just need a few more. All right. Okay. So then I'm going to we'll just say this here announcement. I don't have any more. I thought we had actually, because like when people were like, can I get one of those? I'm like, yeah, just email me. I'll mail it to you. And I got a lot of emails about it. I was like, okay. So I like started sending them out, and that's what because I had like 15 of them, something like that. And then I'm like, wow, I'm out. I thought we had 100 of them down in some storage facility. So, all right. So now I know. Now you know.
We had a huge box of them, but over the literal 2 years, they have depleted, is what has happened. So, yes, exactly.
I mean, I always knew they would be popular. It was just a matter of time. I knew that.
It's very much if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Yeah,
because if you're holding that koozie, it is a little creepy. Like let's be real. If you don't know the context, the koozie says, hey, babies on it.
It's pretty good for a koozie, though, as a double entendre, like, what's up with this guy if you're holding that? So it's like, yeah.
Exactly.
Not bad. All right, let's get to it. The RFK bill is slowly creeping through Congress. I saw the House Speaker seems open to like having it in whatever their spending bills are at the end of the year. The senators seem open to it, I guess, as long as you figure out how to make the Maryland people happy. And then I assume if everybody's happy, and this gets to Joe Biden's desk and it's a spending bill, that if it was signed by both parties, that it would be signed. So I guess we'll know in a week, guys. Because that's it. As of next Friday, they go on recess until next year when there's a new administration in here. So TikTok, boys, 1 week. Get that in, hide it in there. Let's go. Let's get this going.
And what it seemed like yesterday, too, after we were done recording yesterday, we were joking about Maryland wanting, them to rebuild. They wanted the federal government to pay $1.9 billion to rebuild the bridge. After reading some of the pieces after we got off the air yesterday, it seems that was, quite the, we're just going to try to throw this out there, because then all of the other kind of political rumblings were like, this is going to go through. Like, the chances are really good that this is going to go through. So it seems like Maryland tried to hold up the bag a little bit to say, what else can we get?
What else can we get?
And they did not get a $1.9 billion bridge out of, standing out of the way, essentially.
No, and but I agree with them. The government should help pay for the Francis Scott Key Bridge to be rebuilt. It should not come at the expense of a football stadium in Washington, D.C. Does Maryland need more National Guard fighter jets? Fine. I agree with that. Not at the expense of a football stadium. Like, those things don't have anything to do with one another. So, but if you want to know, what are you going to do with Northwest Stadium once you vacate it? Fair question, guys. Fair question. And I would hope that Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, Mitchell Rales, Mark Hine, et cetera, have a good answer about that, about what they do intend to do, because I think that's a fair question to ask them. Is this going to become some giant eyesore off the Beltway? Which it won't, because the difference is, I know when they were like saying, like, we don't want this to become like RFK, it won't. It's privately owned. It serves them no purpose to let it sit there and just rot. That doesn't even make any sense. The reason why RFK looks the way it looks is the federal government has tied DC's hands behind its back for 30 years with the thing. And had they not done that, it would have been developed by now. Something will happen with that site. It's just, but I'll hear out Maryland on, we really want to know what it is and whether you're going to work with us on it, because otherwise we don't really want to green light this. So, I hear them on that part.
I will say this too. I think, like I was thinking about this yesterday, it kind of goes back to my original theory with FedEx or Northwest Stadium, the Landover site, essentially. And I told you, I always thought there was a good shot that maybe the practice facility could become that site eventually. I don't know if it would be in the next couple of years, but maybe that was also Maryland going, well, if this is going to become the practice site, we'll really stand down, because at the same time, we're going to get players and more activity over there. And I have no idea, right? Because it seems like they're prepping to sell Ashburn, but they don't really want to go. They're investing, whatever it is. I think that was a piece of it too, was Maryland was probably also going, well, if you're going to make this the practice facility, we'll actually help you get out of here and we'll help turn that around faster or whatever. That's where I kind of landed yesterday. Like, not only do we want to know what we're going to do, if this is something we're interested in too, we'll kind of help you out. So I thought that's where I kind of landed too.
Yeah, I don't get the impression they're moving out of Virginia with that, but like, I don't know. And if that's the negotiation, that's the negotiation. So I don't know. Like, I've thought all along, because when they moved the business offices over to College Park, I'm like, well, that's a sign that that's a possibility. But there is a deal with the sports books in Virginia that I don't really know to what extent limits or it kind of gets the Commanders not to do that. So I don't know. I don't really know. So like, we'll see, and we'll let them figure it out. And I'm just hoping we get the RFK bill through for the first time in a long time to have the option. It doesn't mean it's going to go there. I think we all believe it will, but like, the city council has to work with them. Who's going to fund this thing? There's a lot of steps that have to happen beyond this if they get this done. But come on, guys, let's go. TikTok, throw it in whatever bill you need to throw it in, and let's get this over with. Let's see. Commanders and Saints this weekend. We got a few things to talk about here. One, Saints defense is pretty good, which I'll get to in a minute. They've actually been very good the last month or so, including Chase Young, who I said this yesterday in passing. I wasn't kidding. Like, he looks like the guy that was the rookie here that won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like, he's top 5 in quarterback pressures. He doesn't have a lot of sacks, but he looks better, more engaged and healthy, which I think was really important. So I'll start there, I guess. They got a very active front with him and Cameron Jordan, who's, I think falls into the London category, has had an unbelievable career. And if ended up in the Hall of Fame, I would totally see it and believe it. But he's not known as one of the great defensive ends and will probably fight that battle until the end of time. But between him, Granderson, Chase Young, a couple of like faster, bigger guys in the middle, very good tacklers in Demario Davis, Pete Werner at the linebacker position. They're active up front. And over the last 4 weeks, they're averaging giving up 15 points a game. So they're in all these games that they're playing. Their issue is going to be on the other side of the ball, which I'll get to in a minute. But like, I want to start there. This is not a cakewalk for the Washington offense, specifically because I don't know what the passing game is going to look like. I think the Noah Brown injury is a big deal. I really, really, really do.
Yeah, no, I think the offense against the Saints defense is where this game is going to be decided. I think the Washington defense has been good enough over the last 6 weeks that they should be able to handle that offense. I think we might get into that Giants scenario where they say, we dare you to run it with Kamara, but like at the same time, they have a quarterback that's never had a start. So I think the defense is going to be fine. It's going to be Cliff in that offense of how do we figure out how they get to move the ball down there. Granted, at least the Superdome isn't going to be the Superdome for this game. Like the get-in price is like $20. Like that crowd is not going to be the same Superdome crowd that we're used to. So that's the other part here that I'm actually not too worried about, is that the offense will be able to get it going. For me, it's going to turn into complimentary football once again. Can they get up 7 to 10 points, get them to start passing the ball, and then the defense starts teeing off, and then the offense starts running the ball. The running the ball has been what has been key for this offense the whole time. So to me, they can run the ball, they'll be fine. I want to see the passing game, of course, but maybe they won't have to worry about it if they can get the score up to a certain point.
Yes. This is a running game. I just the loss. It's funny. This is an interesting week. Lattimore, I'm assuming is going to play. They haven't officially said that's going to happen, but I'm assuming is going to play. I'll get to him in a minute. This is not the week we're going to judge what difference he makes on the defense because of the situation that they have on offense. The key here is slow down Alvin Kamara. And if you slow down Alvin Kamara, unless Jake Haener is the biggest surprise of all time, like it's impossible to see that would be the big difference here. And then on the other side, it's okay, what does our passing game look like now? What does it become? Where does the ball go? Well, that happens to be the worst yard per carry rush defense in the NFL. And this team happens to be a top 5 rush offense. That's where the ball needs to go. No one's overthinking this thing. Like, I don't think you're overthinking this thing. If you can get out to a lead, like who was it? Someone said it like there are teams that just really kind of want to quit. And they had one 2 weeks ago in Tennessee. They blew one against a team in Dallas. And here's one that I don't think will quit because they've actually been very competitive. But without Derek Carr running around out there and an offense that doesn't seem like it's going to be able to score very much, you get up a couple scores, what happens here? And so I think this is a B-Rob, C-Rod game, personally.
No, you also, we've been this team the last 4 or 5 years where maybe not the last 4 or 5 years, but we were certainly at last year where you look at that schedule and you go, I got 4 games left. I got a month left of this season. We're not going to the playoffs. It takes 10 points to get those guys on that team to shut it down. That's what I'm predicting here. And then to your point too, if it's a B-Rob game, you and I know how this goes. Guys make business decisions. They don't want to tackle that dude. They're not going to want to have anything to do with him in the second half of that game.
Especially in their secondary. I got to tell you, it's the one thing that really stands out when I watch them. Like, a very active front. Their linebackers are very good. Demario Davis, very good, longtime, very good player. Their secondary doesn't want to be overly physical. And this is probably why the yards per carry is 5. Because you need the people to step up in the hole and make those tackles. And I don't think it's happening probably at the rate that they need it to. So that's the weakness for them. And this is, fortunately for us, our strength. We have 2 very physical runners, one who's one of the most physical runners in the NFL. I don't think you overthink this. You just lean on this and go, I don't think they're going to stop it. Not enough. I think we're going to control the clock. Fewer possessions for this guy is dangerous. And Joe Witt and Dan Quinn keep screaming ball is life. Get it from this guy making his first ever start. Get it from him.
No, 100%. I think we should call this the Doc Walker game. Impose your will to get the win here, because that's what I feel like. That's how you do this. This is what you do against bad teams, and you run the ball. You keep the crowd out of it. And like I said, complimentary football is what wins this too. If they go up by 7 to 14 points, the Saints are going to shut it down. There's just no way that team's going to be ready to compete for 60 minutes is what I'm saying, essentially.
Since you bring up Doc, what do you think his stories of going to New Orleans are like?
Playing days or after playing days?
Doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, you have
Doc
to remember,
Unplugged is a good podcast. Doc Unplugged.
You got to pay for that one, man.
Yeah.
That's behind the subsupscription wall right there.
That's $25 a month. That's not cheap. And you know what? It's worth every penny.
That's Patreon, playa. You got to pay for that one.
Oh yeah.
Well, you got to remember too, because I used to work with Doc and B Mitch over at the old station. B Mitch knows all the spots, so I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
The combined stories of both of them are probably pretty damn
I'm
good.
scared to hang out with B. Mitch tomorrow night. I'm not gonna lie to you. We've spent a lot of time together this season because he's going on the road again.
Yeah.
And I'm scared of this one. The other ones I'm fine with. You want to go hang out in Tampa somewhere? Cool. But New Orleans, he knows it all. And so that could be a pricey night by the end of the night.
I've been to New Orleans twice. One of the times, though, I went for WrestleMania. It was one of the times I went there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still working with B. Mitch. And B. Mitch, I handed him a piece of paper. And I said, B. Mitch, you need to tell me where to go out. And he just goes, where to go eat or where to go party? And I said, eat, please. I don't think I need to. I don't think I'm ready for your establishments down there. And this is funny. I actually came across this. He hand wrote a bunch of restaurants for me, and I saved a piece of paper just to have it. So I have B. Mitch's list of places to eat still down there.
All right, let's see. I don't want to get too far off track. What else needs to happen? Who does number 2 work for? I don't know who the secondary receiver is going to be. I did the numbers. They're not good. Outside of Terry McLaurin, of all the receivers, wide receivers, not tight ends, running backs, they have like 65 catches total. 35 of them are Noah Brown. So somebody is going to get some real opportunities here. I'm not sure it's this game because I do think that this is run the ball game for sure, but it's not like you're never going to throw it. And we're going to find out next week. And this is a primer for what next week is. Who's it going to be? And they keep saying it's a committee. Okay, let's find out who but yeah, they said it was a committee, but guess what? Noah Brown became the guy on top of the committee. Who's the new person? Is it Zacchaeus, McCaffrey, Diami? I don't know. So we should get some hints at that this weekend as well.
I think the other part of this too is it is a good transition from the last game with the Titans game where they lined up in a lot of 3 tight end sets where they had Ertz, Sinnott, and Bates out there. I think we're going to see some of that too this weekend, like just and see if they pass out of that a little bit more, because that's been one thing that I've been kind of wondering on the season is we were kind of told Sinnott was going to be this H-back type guy, and we've seen him make a couple of catches, but you know, you got to, I don't want to use the word showcase because he's a rookie, but I thought he'd get a few more opportunities by this point in the season. Maybe it's him too, because I could see that being a thing too. You got to, like, we kind of talked about this with the offense where they have the personnel to run the ball. We don't know if Cliff actually wanted to come into the season and do that, right? Well, the personnel says you should use 1 or 2 of these tight ends on the field if they're going to be, you know, if they're going to be the help that the wide receiver core ends up needing. So that's what I'm kind of looking at here too. Does Ben Sinnott kind of get a little bit more playing time and a couple more opportunities this weekend?
Maybe. Too? My gut says Diami's going to get the first real opportunities here.
I agree. I agree.
He's the one who could be a downfield threat. He could be. I don't know that McCaffrey has proven that part yet, and I don't think Zacchaeus is a consistent downfield threat. But Diami could be. He has shown it in the past. He's got the profile of being on the field because he blocks. So I think this is Diami Brown. This is your life. The next month is a real opportunity here to kind of prove that you deserve a bigger role. So we're going to find out. Let's see. Jake Hanerhan. Jake Hanerhan makes his first ever start. Second-year pro, mid-round draft pick out of Fresno State. Let me see. I wrote this down. Last start, December 17th, 2022, the LA Bowl for Fresno State. So we're catching a break, obviously. Spencer Rattler was the player who came in when Derek Carr got hurt the first time. That didn't go very well. It really officially turned their season sideways. Their offense was a nothing burger. So they're turning to him. He didn't even really come in as the number 2. Washington's catching a break here. They need to take advantage of it, period. Like they say that this coaching staff, at least, you know, at its core is you're going to like how we play. We're going to be really physical. We're going to take the ball away. We're going to get a lot of sacks. I don't like how few interceptions we have. The silver platter, boys, and we need it. Silver platter. No offense to this guy, but silver platter. Washington's defense has no excuse not to win the turnover battle this weekend and turn the game upside down.
No, 100%. Like all I could think of was, wow, you're not going to go to Rattler. He was either that bad or this guy's been coming on in practice. And if this guy's been coming on practice to knock Rattler off, your options are just, you know, bad 1 and bad 2, essentially. On this, they know they have to stop Kamara. Like, let's see how they do that. And then if they force this guy to try to, you know, get some points here. Like I said, that 7 to 14 point range, if they can go up by 10 or more, force them to start to pass the ball, things are going to get out of hand. And I expect this defense to be able to take advantage of that. That's where I feel differently with this coaching staff for once, where it's like they should beat the quarterback that's making his first career start. I have all the faith in the world. They will take care of that.
Yep. The one thing that they're worried about outside of Kamara is Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a very good deep threat this year, but that's with Derek Carr. Let's see, right? So, like, can you get Haener to get rid of the ball really fast? Does the coordinator want the ball out of his hands really fast? Does that negate a deep passing game in general? I guess we'll just see how that plays out. And the other one is this. I'm hoping Sean Lattimore makes his debut. We'll see. Either way, who's the better resource for this one than this guy? So I'm sure they've been picking his brain all week to help them out as they kind of game plan. I'm hoping he makes his debut. Obviously, next week is the real when they see him against Philadelphia. Let's find out what kind of impact he can have on the defense as a whole. But he could be a major resource here. And I think a major resource against Atlanta in a couple of weeks because he played them so many times through the years. So, I'm hoping to see him this weekend. And I'm assuming we're going to see him this weekend.
Actually really liked Joe Witt Jr.'s take on him yesterday during his press conference, where he was kind of saying, kind of like what I was wondering, but he confirmed it, was just kind of saying he's going to be in a better position now just to like get to know the defense. And it's been 6 weeks since they traded for him, something like that.
That's right.
So He was just saying this guy, when he steps up in the field, is going to be way more ready than he would have, the first week. And he even said, not that I want the guy to get hurt or whatever, but he basically said he's been learning the defense for over a month. When he steps out there, he should be good to go. So I'm with you. I think Lattimore should be able to do his job. And I'm just hoping we don't hear his name, because if we don't hear his name, it means he's probably doing his job pretty well on Sunday. Or
if you do, maybe it's because he does what they got him to do.
Sure. No, so, of course. You know what I mean. Yeah. You know what I mean on that.
Yep. All right. We'll get into the rest of the weekend slate next. Pretty much the show is at 6:30 at Sports Capital.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
Craven the Hunter, who uses all the methods of the animals.
Now, witness the making of a new Marvel villain.
Once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is Craven the Hunter. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
All right, welcome back. Let's start with this. Go look at the Rams' schedule. They won last night, which is good. This all, for our purposes, eliminates San Francisco. And for the NFC, eliminates San Francisco. I think everybody's happy that happened. But the Rams play the Jets and the Cardinals before they end with the Seahawks. So very, very, very easily, they could run the table to that point, which means they're sitting at 10 with the potential of 11. So Seattle, who doesn't play the Rams until week 18, who have 8 wins already, if they were to win the next 3, and their schedule's way harder, but if they were, they would also be sitting at 11. Meaning, if the Rams would beat Seattle, they'd both be at 11. Nightmare scenario. This is why I've been getting these nightmares that 2-2 isn't going to do it. What it takes is Green Bay knocking off Seattle this weekend, and that nightmare scenario ends. But that game is in Seattle, and then we are a little too close for comfort for them to kind of pull this off. And then suddenly, Washington is going to have to go 3-1 down the stretch to get to the playoffs. But that win by the Rams last night was good and bad. San Francisco getting hot is a nightmare for everybody. Obviously, that won't happen now. They're basically eliminated. But the Rams been hot, staying hot, and with a schedule that they have in front of them, this is the nightmare scenario. We need the Seahawks to lose somewhere. I know everyone's thinking like, we could catch Green Bay, therefore we want Seattle to win. I'm not so sure about that. Part of me wants Seattle to lose so that the fail-safe of if we get to 10 will be probably good enough.
I mean, the good part about this is it's not like the Rams were impressive last night. Like, that was maybe the ugliest game of the year.
They weren't against New Orleans either. When I watched them the other night to get ready for the Saints game, they're the Bills game was interesting offensively. Defensively, they were bad, but like they're not winning big. It's not like they're killing anybody, right?
Right. So that's what I'm getting at here is like their games are all one possession games. Let's see
you think
how
they're losing to the Jets next week. I don't, but you don't know with teams like this. I assume McVay will have them ready to go, but I don't know. That other team's going to trot Aaron Rodgers out there. Do you really put they?
I mean, physically, Aaron Rodgers will be there. Spiritually, I cannot speak on that, but I don't know.
Metaphysically, he may not be there.
That's right. Yeah. Spiritually, he's on his ayahuasca trip. Physically, he's in New Jersey. There could be worse ways to live. But, I mean, look, the Rams, they could. I don't know if this will happen either way. I just know that we need one of them to fall off. We don't need both of them to keep winning, essentially, is what needs to happen here. So I don't care how it shakes out. We just need one of them to fall off. And if it's going to be one of them, I think it's the Seahawks, honestly. Like, the Seahawks are the ones that have been the coin flip for the most part. The Rams have had blips here, but the Rams have been more consistent down the stretch in the second half.
Listen, they could easily lose to Green Bay this weekend. Easily.
Yes.
That could easily happen. It is funny, though, with the Jets. Did you see Mina Kimes call out Aaron Rodgers, which I thought was the perfect, but we're in 2024 and hypocrisy doesn't matter. Like we've had 10 years of hypocrisy doesn't matter, but Aaron Rodgers ripping ESPN for being a personality driven show and not a show that like focuses on highlights at SportsCenter anymore. That was like one of his complaints about ESPN. And Mina Kimes goes, here's a personality-driven person who goes on a personality-driven show to complain about personality-driven shows. And, oh, by the way, he's paid to show up on this show and be a personality. I was like, thank you for saying it. Not that it matters, but like the hypocrisy of this guy is so off the charts. Like he does not see himself the same way as everybody else. It really, it's truly amazing. Truly amazing.
Also, like Raj, that's full old man yells at cloud. They don't do highlights anymore because they're all on your phone now. Like ESPN doesn't have to act like the old ESPN 24 hours a day anymore. Like the game has changed.
He's like, I wish ESPN wasn't personality-driven shows. Said on ESPN personality-driven show by paid for personality on personality-driven show.
also, like, I'm sorry. Even on those highlight shows, I don't know, guys like Patrick and Stuart Scott and Eisen, they were personalities driving the highlight shows. Like, you were on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
People watch those shows to watch the personalities too.
Personalities.
So,
Actually, it was the leeway to spin your own personality in delivering the highlights.
Yeah.
That's
terrible. That's a terrible take.
It's really a terrible take. Worst take ever. Worst take ever.
Terrible.
Let's see. Kansas City's only a 4-point favorite in Cleveland. I know that they've gotten by the hairs of their chin like every single game, every single week. But I think if they show up here, that Jameis will throw up on them and then they'll win. So I guess maybe it's close because every game they play is close, but I'm not picking Cleveland. That's for sure.
I feel like Jameis, like I use the term coin flip a lot this season with some of the teams. I feel like Jameis though is like the mystery box. You could open it and there could be nothing in there, or you open it up and the flamethrower shoots out at you, and all of a sudden you're in a game in the fourth quarter. There, I don't think that's going to happen, but I feel like that's what it is with Jameis. Jameis reminds me of like, I don't know, the equivalent of this team having Heineke a couple of years ago. Like, not going to be out of it, but if you give him one drive to finish off the game, he might finish you off or throw a pick six the other way. You just don't know which one you're going to get.
No one is more beloved and has these kind of horrible ending moments than him.
Correct.
That's charmed. That's actually somewhat charmed life that he gets away with it, where most people, when they have a quarterback who, I don't know, was the number 1 overall pick and screws up as often as he does on the field, typically is not beloved the way that he's beloved. So he's figured out some magical personality thing that like everybody kind of gloms onto, and they're like, that's Jameis, whatever. We had fun watching it anyway.
Oh, I mean, Jameis to me is full WWE. Like the best part with Jameis is you don't know if that's an act or not. Like you don't know whether that's really him or whether he's doing a bit. And that's what I love about him so much. I think it's why everyone loves him, because they're going, if this is who this guy actually is, you have to love him. And if it is a bit, I think people still like it because he's still one of the more personable guys in the league, especially at quarterback.
I can't believe this is a truism this year, but it is. If Kansas City wins the Super Bowl, it's going to be because of their defense.
Yeah. 100%.
Like we're at the point now where I don't think their offense is going to turn into the dynamo that we're used to. I mean, it's happened too many weeks in a row where I'm like, I don't think they're fixing this. Like they're not going to wake up and start scoring 35 points a game. So if they do win the Super Bowl, it'll be because of their defense this year.
They're the definition of getting by with their offense. And like, granted, you could do way worse, obviously, than having Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey and some of the weapons that they've got. But they have they know they can scrounge together 2 to 3 to 4 touchdown drives a game, and the defense, holds it together. I knew this in the first half of the season, the way those scores were going, that it was going to be on their defense this season.
Red Zone specials this week. Cincinnati, Tennessee. Even though that's probably a big deal for both of them. That's their ex-offensive coordinator, who's the head coach of Tennessee. Of course, they're getting blown out again these days, so I wish them luck. So if Cincinnati shows up, I assume they win. Jets, Jags, Dougie P and A-Raj. Oh, man, bosom buddies for everything that's gone wrong in 2024. And then Pats, Arizona, which I'd love the Patriots to win to basically eliminate Arizona because they're kind of not out of it. And similarly, when you look at the NFC South schedule and you look at their schedule, you could see where they will muster enough wins to be in the conversation by the end of the year. So I'm hoping for an upset from New England just to kind of take them out of the conversation.
Yeah, this is what hasn't happened over the last couple of weeks is we haven't gotten any clarity. It just keeps getting more jumbled up.
Yes.
So, yeah, I would love the Patriots to take out Arizona. On that Jets-Jags game, by the way, that's the disaster of all disasters because if the Jets lose to that team, I don't know, you can't answer the questions on that one. So I know it doesn't matter to us, but that is kind of a must win for them. That's a measuring stick game for them this late this season.
I think it's fun that they stink and they could lose to Mac Jones and the Jaguars.
Yes,
that's
yes.
Really that's perfect.
Yes.
The script got that one right. Very good.
Correct. Nobody's paid attention to Washington against the Jets, last year, but Jaguars, Jets, I'm kind of half paying attention to that one. If you guys don't beat them, you're really broken.
The Ravens should blow out Cutlets and crew. I think they're 16-point favorites.
Yeah.
The Giants are done, obviously. And I do think they're more fun with Cutlets. I agree with that. I watched, obviously, because the Saints played the Giants, so I had to watch that game. And yeah, it's better than Drew Lock. It really is. It's better. It's at least more interesting and fun. I'm more willing to pay attention to it. I'm very interested to see what they do. Are they going to fire that are they going to clean house? I don't know. The way the wind is blowing, it suggests they won't, but I'll be surprised if they don't the way this has gone. I mean, this has gotten really bad. I don't know exactly what their case is, honestly. When they go in the offseason, they're like, explain to me why you're going to fix this. I don't know what in the world they would say, honestly.
Before the staff question, I've never had a take been popped so fast than Drew Lock. He stinks. I thought he was solid. Thought he'd be okay. He was terrible. He's been terrible in every one of his starts for them. So I don't know if that's him or the system or what. But yes, they're more interesting with DeVito. Their offense is so putrid though. 3 points a game putrid. They can't move the ball. Their running backs are their running backs. Obviously, they didn't, re-sign Saquon, but their offense is actually what's the most troublesome part about them. That's supposed to be Dayball's side of things. It's a valid question whether they're going to clear house. And I told you the second they came out and said, "Oh no, we're not going to fire anybody after week 7." I said, "Oh boy, why did you even say that? Because it could get worse, and it has gotten worse. That offense is so terrible. They can't move the ball.
If Carolina keeps showing up, they might get rewarded for once. They've had 3 weeks in a row here where they could have beaten playoff teams. They could have beat the Eagles. They could have beat the Chiefs. They could have beat the Buccaneers. They should have beat the Buccaneers. And now they get the Cowboys. So go get them, boys. Keep playing hard, and you might end up on the right side of it this time.
Carolina's favored in this one. I was looking at it before the game, before we got on the air today, and I was like, oh my God, I think they're 2.5 point favorites or 3 point favorites. And I was I was like,
all my
wow.
Dallas friends who explained to me at the beginning of the year how crazy I was when I kept telling them it's not going to be the same, guys. You cannot lose what you lost and win 12 games again. That's not, and you guys don't even think McCarthy's good anyways. So don't even sit there and at me that you think it's going to be the same team. You all have gotten real quiet this year, real quiet, because it definitely went worse than I thought it would be. And the Dak injury sealed it for sure. Yeah. But it was trending in the way of being 500 or under anyway, and you know it. And this is this is perfect that you all are underdogs to Carolina. Perfect.
This is also screaming at me that Vegas knows that their will was broken on Monday night. To lose the game the way they lost it to the Bengals, once again, some of these guys are going, I got a month left of the season with this team. Give it to Carolina to get them in a dogfight in the fourth quarter and watch the Cowboys just say, we're good. We don't need to play with this team anymore.
I just to any Dallas fan, I just want to be you're underdogs to Carolina this week, because it's such a great sentence to say. You're underdogs to Carolina this week.
That's right. Right. Exactly.
Let's see. Miami at Houston. Are either one of you really an AFC problem? I don't know, because I don't really buy either one of you, but I'm more inclined to believe Miami would be the one, if they sneak into the playoffs, that would be dangerous over Houston. But Texans, feel free to prove me wrong this weekend, but I don't believe you. I think you are fraudulent. I don't believe you.
I just want to pat myself on the back. I called Houston frauds after week 3 or 4. I did not believe in them. This one's weird because it's the Spider-Man meme. I don't know which one of these guys are going to out fraud the other for this weekend. I don't know. Give me Miami. They got something to play for. Houston's been cruising. They're not going to be challenged for that division. I'll take Miami over Houston in this one, just to take a team that actually is fighting for something, and Houston, who I've just not liked all season long.
Colts, Broncos, Indy's last stand to kind of make a late run to try to get into the playoffs. I doubt they'll get there, but they can try. Bo Nix is trying to put together a case to challenge Jaden Daniels, and I don't know why Brock Bowers isn't getting more,
Agree.
for that. He's just on a bad team. For rookie of the year, I still think it's kind of Jaden's to lose, but if Nix throws up crazy numbers at the end of the year, they end up with 11 wins too. He's going to have a case to make. I got a funny feeling about this one. I actually like Indy, but I don't know, because I don't love Denver, and I got a funny feeling about this one that Denver loses here to Indianapolis.
I'll take the Broncos because of Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton's going to get those guys ready to go. He's actually proven to be worth all the trouble it's been to get him and cut Russ and all of that. So I'll take him over Indianapolis. I think they're a little more talented than Indianapolis too. I think it's going to be close though. I'm with you. This one could go either way.
Bills, Lions, potential Super Bowl preview. Lions keep winning. Even the crazy Dan Campbell ideas, those have worked out so far this year. Until proven otherwise, I still think they're the best team in the NFC. I think the Eagles are right on their heels. And I think Minnesota, I buy Minnesota now. So because they're right there too. And the Bills, while they lost last week, they're the team that can explode and score a bazillion points. This is a very interesting game. Either way, I think it's a very interesting game. I think it's more important for Buffalo than it is for Detroit. But that said, Detroit is one ding away from being in a vulnerable position with the Vikings. So this remains you would think at 12-1 that they'd be cool, but they're not. So this is going to be a very, very good game and potentially a Super Bowl preview.
This one screams our first Dan Campbell decision goes sideways. This is where I think this finally happens this season. I don't want to call the Lions lucky because they're not, but they constantly make those crazy decisions, those high stakes decisions, and it's worked out for them the entire season this year. It literally was a year ago. Remember they had that game against the Cowboys and he went for the win and they lost and everybody was kind of praising him. I think this one goes that way. I think they make, one of those decisions. It goes the wrong way and the Bills make them pay for it because the Bills are elite. That's how I see this one going. I think Bills win a close one because the Lions make one of those decisions.
You can't go with your gut constantly, especially when you grind your way to all these like moments where you're in the right spot. It's like you're at the craps table and you're up a certain amount of money and then you just go all of it on hard 8. And you're like, why would you do that? Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not worth it. Don't do that.
Did you see the NFL film / breakdown of what happened for the 4th down call last Thursday? Did you happen to see that?
No.
Goff comes off the field and he goes, man, I really kind of wanted to go for that. And Campbell right away does this move and just goes, all right, we're going to go for it. Just like it wasn't like he came off the field first. They were going to kick it and give the ball back to Green Bay. And he decided to call the timeout and then go for it. Like, that's where I was like, oh my God, you didn't even have, like, you weren't even ready to go in that moment. And that's where I was like, oh, this is a little too chaotic for me. You weren't even ready to go.
This is the fear for the Lions.
Yeah.
That they're going to be in a high leverage game and he's going to do something that's going to backfire.
Yeah.
And it's going to have been unnecessary. And they're going to lose by 3. Like,
Dan Campbell is James Bond in a casino. You just don't know what he's going to do. Like, it's going to be pure chaos.
No, it's more Austin Powers. He puts it all in. And the guy's like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Or he hits on 19.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Stop it. Let's see the other one this weekend. Steelers-Eagles potential Super Bowl preview. I wouldn't call the Steelers the front runner to get there. But if Kansas City's going to have a hard time scoring, and I don't really buy that the Chargers are kind of there yet, they're like a win over Buffalo away from actually getting there, frankly. So this isn't that really that far off from actually happening, honestly.
I'm very interested to see how Russ does this week. No Pickens. He has that hamstring injury, so he's not playing. So I want to see how Russ does with that Eagles secondary with not a lot of weapons there. Let's see what he can do as
that's not good.
Like as an actual quarterback that can't just throw a rainbow up and get someone to catch one. So let's see how it is. And granted, like for the Steelers, I don't think this means too much. The Eagles, they of course need to keep Washington off their tails if they were to win out. But like, on this one, I'm interested to see what Russ does here because he's not going to have his number 1 wide receiver. Let's see what he does without, that weapon.
And the Eagles are starting to act weird again. Like people are going on air saying things like they're not friends. And it's like just so I've never seen a more fragile 11-2 team. Like how are you guys so fragile? But whatever, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Bucks, Chargers, potential 2026 Super Bowl preview. We'll see. I buy Harbaugh. So, let's see what the Chargers look like next year. The Buccaneers with Baker are pretty good. And then the last one is this one, which is Pack and Seattle. I think it's a win-win for us. I mean, obviously, one of them gets a loss, and that's good for us. I'm not sure which one I want more. I think Green Bay's getting to 11 no matter what because they're playing New Orleans at home next week. They're going to end with Chicago at home. It's hard for me to picture them not getting to 11. So there's part of me that treats them kind of like a lost cause and go, I kind of want Seattle to lose here. I think bringing them closer to the Pack opens the door for us. But either way, it's a good result. Somebody has to lose.
I want the Pack to win here because I'd rather have Jordan Love on the table to possibly take someone out. That's where I've landed here. Like Seattle, I just do not believe in this year. Like I think the way that they've gone year 1, pretty solid, honestly. But give me the Packers to hopefully win this, get themselves into a better playoff position, potentially take out someone in the playoffs. Give me Green Bay here. I'd rather have them win.
You know what's so nuts about all this? Like at the beginning of the year, if you told me the Commanders would go 10-7, I'd be like, that's awesome. Like, what a great year that is. And then I'd be like, that's the playoffs. And it might not be. That's the crazy. Like, they could get to 10-7 and not make the playoffs. That's how annoying that is. Like, that's.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So we'll see. All right, we'll see. All right, take a quick break. Very much enjoy ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
Hey, it's Austin James. Yes, I'm living with diabetes, but it doesn't have to define me. Thanks to the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, I get real-time glucose readings throughout the day. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor is small and easy to wear, giving me the freedom to focus on my life as a parent and a musician. Now this is progress. You can get a free sensor at freestylelibre.us.
Offer available for people who qualify. Visit myfreestyle.us to see all terms and conditions. Certain exclusions apply. Data on file. Abbott Diabetes Care. Per prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
When you're on the go and it's time to refresh your energy, grab an ice-cold Celsius, where 0 sugar, 7 essential vitamins, and proven ingredients meet pure refreshment. Unlike traditional energy drinks, each sip of Celsius is a perfect balance of flavor and function. So whether you're hitting the gym, the office, or your next adventure, grab a Celsius at your local retailer or visit Celsius.com to learn more.
All right, in our final few minutes, we haven't talked about this yet. Juan Soto signs the biggest contract ever. There's a lot of rumors about reasons outside of the money that he didn't want to re-sign with the Yankees, like that some of his teammates liked the Trump Madison Square Garden rally, like that he asked for, after getting $760 million offered him, wanted a box at Yankee Stadium too. Some people have insinuated that security kicked out his driver or something. Like there's a lot of weird, like a lot of like, they pissed off Juan Soto, to which I would say back to him, they offered him $760 million. It wasn't that offensive.
I mean, I wouldn't call it offensive by any means, but I will say, like, some of these players care about the little things. And you know what the Yankees aren't going to do? Bend the knee to the little things. And so this is where, if you're the Yankees, maybe you should have bent them to Juan Soto a little bit. And I don't know how much it actually really came down to it, but I do know sometimes these players, they want the little things. Like, remember years and years ago for the World Series, Anthony Rendon bitched and complained about the families traveling to the World Series, and the Lerners fixed that, you know, in the last game or two of that, something like that. I think this is one of those ones where Soto probably let it be known that he wanted it to be a little bit better, and I don't think the Yankees were bending to that. And then Steve Cohen's going, you can have whatever you want, pal, because I don't care. I just want you on this team. And that was the difference here. And the other part was, I don't know if you saw this too yesterday. They asked him, oh, you've come over to, you know, the Mets or whatever. Had you had any, you know, have you talked with any of your old teammates? And he said, I haven't talked to any one of them since the season ended. That tells me
telling.
too.
Yeah, that's very telling.
Yeah, that tells me that.
I would agree with, someone called him a pig for asking for a box and $760 million, which I would say, I agree. If they're giving you $760 million, you can pay for the box, guy. Like, that's a little much to ask for that. On the Trump rally thing, do I believe that? I'm not totally sure, but you got to remember the Trump rally thing is where they dumped on Puerto Rico.
Yep.
So
exactly.
I could see where he was a little pissed about that one.
Yeah, well, and the other thing for the box thing, you don't know unless you ask, right? So if the Yankees said no, but then the Mets are going yes, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't know how much that weighed in on that. You know, is what I'm getting at here. Like, that could have been 1%, right? It just happened to be one extra thing that the Mets had that the Yankees, you know, didn't have. I think this too. I'm gonna go ahead and say this as well. The weight of playing for the Yankees, I think in the modern era, is weighing on some of these players. It's so much pressure. It's everybody paying attention to every little detail every single day. I'm not saying the Mets don't have that same, you know, type of fan base, but I am saying playing for the Yankees is just a different beast. And I think you have some players that are just kind of like, I can get paid playing somewhere else, and I'm not going to be criticized about all four of my at-bats every single morning on FAN. You know, like, I think that's a little bit different.
The Nats and Orioles have done what?
Right.
Guys, business started. Did anyone send you the memo? I keep seeing like people like do these interviews and they're like, Rizzo's like, we're hitting the gas. I actually heard him say we're hitting the gas. And I go, you You're sounding like Jerry Jones, pal, because this is sounding like all in means what exactly? And then I saw a couple of the insiders go, the Orioles are very active out there trying to get these pitchers. Really? Because they haven't signed anybody yet. So,
well, I'll give the Orioles this. There's only been two major pitchers gone, right? Snell and Fried, right? So, and the Yankees signed Fried. The O's have at least been in on all of those names. Like, they have been linked to every single one of them, and they haven't gotten one yet. I can live with that with the Orioles because I still don't think guys are clamoring to play for that franchise. It's the Nationals that I'm actually more pissed at. Their names aren't even in these conversations at the moment. And the Fried contract wasn't even that bad. It was $218 million for 8 years?
Yeah.
To me, that was actually like a very solid contract for a starting pitcher that anchors down your rotation. This is the same franchise that handed $130 million to Max Scherzer almost 10 years ago at this point. That was a very comparable contract to tell everyone that your players. The Orioles, I'm okay with. They're Baltimore. Players are not clamoring to play for them, but they're in all these conversations. It's the Nationals that I'm actually more irked at here. The money hasn't been crazy outside of Juan Soto, and they haven't even been in the conversation. I went off on my show yesterday because they, of course, won the first overall pick, right? And I'm going, what NLE's team is he playing for? Because I don't care if you're getting these high draft picks. Who are you going to go play for? I don't like. I have no faith that you're actually going to try to extend a contender out of this core that you have right now.
Nationals, bruh. That's where they're heading. They're heading down that path.
Washington Pirates. That's who they are at the moment.
All right. We'll see you all on Monday. Bray Watch the show, HPF 630 Sports Capital.